Today we're taking a look at two really good brawling, pushing secondary battleships, the Schlieffen, and in the second game I've got an Ohio game for you. Two really fun ships. Today I want to focus on why I'm pushing, when I'm pushing, what I'm looking for, what tells me to retreat potentially, and what kind of factors you should be considering in some of your games when you're playing some of these aggressive brawling battleships. First off, if you have a destroyer with you, a cruiser with you, you want to push in and try and support them. Unfortunately for us, our Shimakaze is going to be caught in this first game. And in the second game, we're also going to have a cruiser and a DD with us, and it's going to go a little bit differently. But this is what you can do if your destroyer goes down extremely quickly. You can push in, try and help, get a little bit of chip damage in on the DD like we're trying here. Unfortunately, I do end up missing except for the secondaries. We notice the Holland is turned away, so we pop our Hydro. That's the DD on our left there. And there's Torps Covenant. This is definitely a retreating scenario. We have to hope our team does well on the other flank. This is more of a holding, a fighting retreat sort of idea. Schlieffen's pretty good in this scenario, I'd say. It's a very stealthy ship that has secondaries that basically reach out to its concealment range. So if something's spotting us, and that thing that is spotting us also is detected, we can get our secondaries off. It's a very scary ship to push into. So that's why the Yamato is going to do a good thing here, and he's going to reverse. But we are still getting some decent chip damage in here. Importantly, though, we need to wait for potentially a Harugumo or a Sherman, one of these ships, to come back and help us on this flank. We need spotting support, and that's what we need to wait for. So I wait, and I retreat. I kite away, kind of jumping forward here a few minutes even. And yeah, we've lost most of our team. So it didn't go so well. These games happen, okay? They're just gonna happen in World of Warships. It's random battles with random teammates. So now that the game is over, well, let's try and make a final push and see what we can accomplish. This is not a push that has a lot of thought put into it, where we have maybe an island or a checkpoint system where we can get to an island and play safe behind that island once we get there and maybe recover some HP. This is not a push where we have really good spotting support. This is a push where we pop our Hydro, push into two destroyers, and hope we don't eat all their torpedoes. That's really what it comes down to. So this is not something that I want to do, but it is a push that I will do as games get out of control. You always want to be considering how risky your push is. When there's an island you're pushing towards that allows you to prevent most of the enemy team from shooting at you once you get to that island, that's a pretty safe push to do, assuming you have the health to get across the gap that gets you towards that island. Other pushes that are reasonably safe are ones that involve your teammates. Maybe you have div mates that are willing to smoke you up even. That's certainly requires some more advanced team play. But those kind of things can work really well in earlier parts of the game when there's a lot more ships on the table. We do Dev Strike the Minotaur there. I think he was trying to go dark there after shooting. That's why he was stopping, so that maybe we wouldn't get into his detect. But Schlieffen's pretty quick, so we did manage to catch up with him and take him out. And here come the first set of torps. Daring does get spotted briefly, so we do click on him with our secondaries. Again, we're trying to take out these DDs. They're our biggest threat. We can angle to a Yamato. He's still going to overmatch through our bow and that, but it's going to do a lot less damage. Crucially, the second set of torps we spot are the single launch ones. That means we know the first set of torps were not from the Daring. They were from the Holland. So both set of torps are used, which means I don't have to worry about that for just a little bit. So we need to focus on the Yamato. Unfortunately, the Daring smokes up right in front of us, just as our Hydro's going down. And Daring has pretty nasty fire chance, so we're going to be lit on a lot of fires here. So it's not looking so great. We're doing good damage, though. Schlieffen is a beast in these scenarios. Unfortunately for us, we just got into one of those positions where we couldn't have that battle impact earlier in the game when it would have mattered for the outcome. I think it's possible that I could have pushed in much sooner when my destroyer was dying and try to make something out of it, but I really do think I was pushing into too much of a crossfire where the enemy was just too ready for that push. I don't think that pushing earlier would have done much, although to be fair, pushing late like this didn't really help us win the game either. So we click on the Daring as his smoke runs out, barely managed to kill him with our secondaries, and maybe if a good salvo into the superstructure the Yamato hits, we can actually take him out. And we do. We managed to live. 160k. We got a ton of late game damage, clean up there. But unfortunately, yeah, this one does end in a loss. But looking at that push that I made at the end, well, I waited for the Yamato to fire, allowing me to turn without showing broadside to a battleship. I waited till my Hydro was available so I could use my Hydro as I was pushing in to not take as many torpedoes. Things like that are really important when you have a German battleship. And now to talk a little bit more about this island concept here. Early game, very start of this match in the Ohio, we don't have a Hydro. That's okay. In this game, we also have a DD pushing up with us, and we also have a cruiser pushing up with us. Very similar. We're also going to the flank on this map. But this time, this map's a little weird. It has this island cover right next to A, and that's what I'm going for here. This is a very, very aggressive push, something that I wouldn't really want to be doing in a CV game, although a Colbert being here helps that be a little more okay since he has some insane AA. Still though, this is a push that is going to work some of the time. And if the enemy team had much more presence here, we would have taken a lot of pain getting to this island that's next to the A cap here. Or this little alcove, I suppose. It's not really necessarily an island when it's so massive and is basically the map border here. It's a really strong thing to do, though. We're going to get really good cross shots in on this Thunderer, in on this Des Moines potentially as well. And if we can get to this island without losing all our HP, it's going to be very difficult for the enemy team to come in and take the A cap. This is a push that I will do sometimes early game, but it relies on the right teammates being around, the enemy team not being completely ready for my push. If they were all sitting where this enemy Des Moines is, let's say there's a bunch of bow-on battleships ready for my broadside, I would probably abort this push. I wouldn't continue with it. Get another Death Strike in on another cruiser. Those certainly help when you're pushing in. And this is kind of the idea here, is I'm constantly looking at all these little factors. How much support do I have? How many teammates are around? Are my DDs likely to win their engagements? Do I need to help on those DD engagements to help us win the flank? If so, that's a good idea to push in with them. How much health am I actually going to lose before I get to this island safety checkpoint area? It's all things I want to be thinking about before pushing. How much impact am I going to have while making this push from this island? Sometimes islands, positions that are aggressive, aren't going to have a lot of impact. This one, however, obviously we've been having some massive impact on this game so far. It's very difficult to push in this game. There's so many different factors, and every game is different. So I can't give you the one trick that's going to fit every single match, but these are the things that I'm constantly looking for. And I really do think that pushing is one of the more enjoyable experiences when it works out. Like this game, for example, in the Ohio, I had a lot of fun with this match where I'd lost, half my HP pushing into this position. And yet look at the map control we secured. Our DDs are so healthy. Our cruiser, so healthy as well. This is really that tank position that a battleship can be, but it can't tank forever. And that's why we are trying to use this island to limit the number of people who can shoot at us and give us a little reprieve to heal up. Ohio is a ship that doesn't have a Hydro, but it has these fast cooldown heals. You'll notice I've already gone through 3 of them. I'm almost at my 4th heal in this game, and we're what, 6 minutes in? 6.5 minutes into this match? Ohio can burn through heals, and that's how it can tank extremely well. So a little bit later, we do push out and try and catch this Thunder again. Flat broadside. Feels good to be landing some of these citadels. And these are secondary builds. I actually went full secondary on my Ohio in this one. If you run the accuracy mod, which is probably a little bit better to do, I was doing this more for the entertainment factor of full secondary builds. You can be even more accurate than this yet, but a really, really strong push in the Ohio in the early game, gaining all that map control and helping our team win this match. I actually played the Schlieffen game after this Ohio one. It went much worse, but I did make similar plays early on based on my teammates' support. Didn't really have much island cover out on that flank I was on in the Schlieffen, but we still tried to play in a similar way. It just went very differently, depending on how your teammates are doing and how much support you necessarily have. It's very fun and extremely rewarding to push in, time it right, and have some good battle impact that can even win your team or help win your team some games. As for the builds on these ships, I'm very much going all secondaries. You'll notice that in a lot of these full secondary battleship videos that I am changing these builds back and forth all the time. I never really am fully set on these builds. There's always something that I want to do differently. Sometimes I want IFHE, sometimes I want to take Vigilance to help with torpedo mitigation, or maybe I'm silly and thinking that AA is actually going to do something, so I'm going to try to take that. I'm always changing it, but really the ideas behind a successful brawling secondary battleship don't really come from the captain build or the upgrades necessarily. It's the mindset, it's that timing that push, knowing where you can push in and be aggressive and have good battle impact, and knowing when you have to play a little more passive and wait for that golden opportunity. But a full secondary build is a lot of fun. It's one of my more enjoyable things in this game, but obviously it's not always going to work out the best. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.